Well, welcome back to the When I Heard This Podcast. My name is Nate Robinsoff, and I'm here with Pastor Dr. Joseph Tillman, Demon Jr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird week.
It is.
It's a weird week.
So we decided to do a little special whatever, and so we thought we'd talk about it.
Right.
Because we do Christian stuff.
Yeah, and obviously we'll talk about the Christian part of it, but it's more than that, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all agree with that. Like, it's more than just that a Christian was assassinated. I mean, I think it's just it's not even that he was Christian or that he was conservative. It's just like, this is what we're doing now, right? Like, that's
right.
Part of the issue too. So yeah, so it's larger than just the Christian thing. It's part of just the landscape of our country presently too.
Right, because everyone on every side now is worried about going anywhere and saying anything.
Yeah, it can be.
And you have to be worried about that now. And we didn't think that you had to be worried about that.
No, much. I mean, and they talked about like how many, death threats and those kind of things, Kirk would get every, all the time, but you still would hope that, you're in a college campus, you set up, an open air event, that you could say whatever you want to, without the threat, without that being a possibility, And
that's where you're supposed to be able to say whatever you want to.
Yeah, like at the University of Georgia, and you're probably familiar with this, like at the Tate Student Center, like there's this platform that's outside.
Yeah.
And anyone can get on that platform at any point in time and say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
Like there's no editing of it, or there's no like filtering of it. There's no or censoring, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
No censoring of it. Yeah, you can just get up there and say F you for 3 hours and okay, like that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, right? And I think, in college campuses in particular, like a lot of them have those kind of spaces because it's supposed to be this place where you could go and be very open, right, with sharing thoughts and ideas and have dialogue around it. And so, the fact that very thing is now in, I hope it's not in jeopardy, the idea of exchanging thought, but openly, but it definitely gives people pause, I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Before
wanting to maybe engage in those things. But I don't know, I thought it was really interesting last night. Did you see Charlie Kirk's wife?
Yes.
And what she said, and the fact that they were going to continue on doing these turning point events. Because I had all these, I was wondering, because how are they going to do that going forward? Like, are universities going to even, it's not that they don't necessarily want that, but are they going to want to take the liability for it, right? Of that. And it was just but to hear that, hey, we're going to keep going, those kind of things, so we started off kind of saying this week's kind of been weird, and I'm weird, I'm heartbroken, and I'm hopeful. I say I'm weird. I feel weird, I'm heartbroken, and I'm hopeful all simultaneously. And maybe that's what the weird part is. I don't know, there's a lot that probably goes into the weird part, but it's been a weird week. It's been a weird couple weeks in our country. So,
well, the thing that's bothering a lot of people is that they are finding out that their friends are celebrating this.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's weird.
And
how many people it is
that
are celebrating it.
Right. Now, I say how many, I still think that's a fringe minority that are celebrating it.
Okay.
I do think that.
I don't.
Okay. I think they're loud, and I think when you took the total numbers, I don't think it's overwhelming. I don't think that's representative of the whole Democratic Party or anything like that. I think it's just liberals in general. I think it is representative of a group that's very loud and that kind of thing. But yeah, it just no. But 100% that bothers. I was having breakfast yesterday morning with two young black men that I meet with, and they definitely don't vote Republican or anything like that, right? They would label themselves as liberals, or however you want to phrase that. They're definitely going to vote more Democrat, but same thing. They were sickened by that same thing.
Yeah.
That's what bothered. One of them brought. I didn't even, because I wasn't even sure. Like when we get together, we talk about the word and those kind of things, and I didn't know they even really wanted to have a discussion about it. And when I brought it up, and like that was what they led off with. Like, well, one, what happened was awful, and then two, I cannot believe people. Like they were mad, like genuinely mad about it, and they're mad and in disbelief. Like they like what are we talking about? And then the other one kind of shared a similar feeling about it, and so it ended up being an interesting conversation. But I do think you're right. There's a lot of people that are very alarmed by how their friends or how people or those that they would consider themselves associated with are responding. So,
well, my favorite thing online right now is two videos cut together. One video is someone who got on TikTok and started celebrating the fact that he died.
Right.
And then record scratch to another video of them crying because they got fired from their job.
Right.
And that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love watching them.
Yeah, and it's that same thing, right? Like that's not cancel culture. You've probably seen this before.
Right.
Like it's the consequence.
Right.
You said something.
Right. It's not cancel culture.
No,
like your place of business can't have the liability of people that enjoy murder.
Correct.
Like,
yeah. Like
are you kidding?
Yeah. And it's not even an infringement upon your free speech.
Right.
Because your free speech, you had the freedom to say it. Right.
You did.
So you said it. The consequence is your employer doesn't have to tolerate it.
Right.
Right. Like, I mean, that's just the reality. So, I mean, if someone comes into, a place of business and looks at their boss and they have the freedom of speech to say whatever they want to.
And it's different than few years ago cancel culture. This isn't an opinion.
No,
this is next to incitement, and your place of business can't be liable for it.
Right. Yeah, especially when your place of business is like a place of education,
right,
or a healthcare. Yeah, like come on, like you've got to know that that's not going to be tolerated.
Right.
And so and I
anyway, I think it's great.
Well, yeah, I mean obviously that part, but I don't. And for me, like when I found myself like obviously heartbroken over the loss, but heartbroken over responses from people, but like just I'm heartbroken over just this is like the brokenness in our own country, our brokenness in our own society, and it's not. And again, this is obviously the Christian perspective for me, like, because it's not like conservative, reverse, liberal or those, those kind of things. Like it's because it's not like that's the issues at play to me. It's like, this is what happens in a world of sin. Like, this is what happens in a society of brokenness, which every society has, right? Because every society is broken because our world is broken. And like, but this is what happens in because of sin. And like the sin is the root thing. That's the issue. And so, and maybe that's what's also giving me hope in some ways. It's like, because I think I was even having a conversation this morning with somebody, and like the hope that they're now see, like, that even if they didn't even like believe in God, or maybe they believe like loosely in God, like there's this sense of, okay, like all of this evil that's happening, like this is not okay. There's got to be an alternative to that. And instead of the alternative being some kind of like, just a simple moralistic ideal, it's like, no, the alternative to that is God. The alternative to that is and I would even go as far as say it is Jesus. Like the alternative to that is to believe in something beyond ourselves. And so I'm kind of hopeful that it's like this like spotlight has been shown on sin, and now their response is, well, this brokenness, this evil, this is not okay. Like, so then what do we do about it? And hopefully there's a turn toward God in response to it. And so that's part of the hope I have, And the other part, I guess the second part of hope for me is this was my immediate reaction was like I'm devastated, I'm mad. but the other part of the hope for me is that, man, my hope is that there's going to be we may never have another individual that's as well articulate. I can't even speak. I can't even be articulate right now. There may be, we may not have someone that's as well as articulate as Charlie was in explaining things, right? I mean, that was the beauty of what he was able to do, was here's this individual that is just, I mean, his IQ is through the roof, and he was able to hear, process, and then respond, and often look past the words that were spoken to get to deeper issues that underlie those words. And so maybe we never have another individual that's exactly like that. But now all of a sudden, if there's just like thousands upon thousands of individuals that begin to have a voice, begin to say, you know what, I'm not going to be quiet anymore. I'm actually going to, like, I'm going to have my voice. It's like what Charlie Kirk would say, like when he was asked, like, why do you do these events on college campuses? And he said, you know, one of the reasons that he did those events in college campuses was so that people could see they're not the only ones that believe the same way they do. Yeah. You know, because like when you do those events, like thousands of people come out of the woodworks, and he's like, all of a sudden they realize, oh, I'm not alone in this. And we video it, we show it so that people beyond just that college campus would realize, oh, I'm not the only one who thinks that way or feels that way, right? Like that's one of the reasons. It's not the sole reason, right? But it was one of the reasons for that. And I hope now that those individuals who've been made aware of that, now they're going to have a bolder voice, you know, and to say, to speak up, and we're not going to allow just the left, you know.
Well, there's a void now.
Yeah.
So people are going to try to fill it.
Yeah. And I hope they do. Yeah. And my prayer is that they do it in a way because I believe one of the things that was also great about Charlie Kirk was that he generally spoke in a way that was respectful of the person. You know, he would listen to them. Like, all right, he'd listen. What, you know, how do you disagree with me? What is it that you disagree with me about? He'd let them talk, and then he'd respond. And he was generally respectful. And yes, people are going to show clips of, you know, a couple of times where he lost his cool. But my goodness, he was going to 50 universities a year. Yeah. And that was not even counting all the extra things he was doing on top of that. You know, so yeah, over the course of 10 years.
I feel like the universities was the extra things.
Right. Yeah. They were like the add-ons.
Yeah.
You know, he did 25 in the fall, 25 in the spring. And so like, and he was doing all these other events as well. Like, yeah, so over the course of 10 years, did he lose his cool a couple of times? Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't? You know, I think that's kind of part of the humanity of it. But overall, he was so unbelievably respectful. He didn't put down people.
It's the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And whereas like because there are individuals on the conservative side, but I have a hard time listening to them because they belittle people, right? They use that as part of their arguments against, and I don't like that. Like Charlie was so smart that he didn't have to use language like that. He could just use facts and win the argument that way. Or at least, even if he wasn't trying to win the argument, engage in the argument, you know, but the whole idea of prove me wrong, right? Like, give me facts, and that was always what he was pushing for. Like, I don't need generalities, give me facts. I don't need your diagnosis of, like, give me the facts. Like, what are the facts? And I thought he was so great at that. So I hope that there's a generation that rises up that has this, that is Christian, conservative, intelligent, and also kind. You know, that's part of that Christian component, is that they're also kind in how they say what they say. And so I do think, you know, and people have used this as a play on words, and, you know, that it's a turning point, you know, alluding to his own nonprofit. And I do hope it's that. I do hope it's a turning point for our country. I do hope it's a turning point for our generation. I mean, when we had a prayer meeting, and we meet, to be clear, like we meet every Wednesday night. So it wasn't like we called a special prayer meeting for this to come to the church. We didn't even like advertise it or promote it. But like once I got to the church, because I found out literally on my way to church Wednesday. Not actually, you're the one that let me know about it. And I'd been visiting people all afternoon, so I had not looked at my phone. And So I found out about it on the way to the church. I get to the church, I breathe, I'm trying to collect myself to go into church. And so we ended up having
Oh, that's right. I sent you like the
dude. Yeah, we won't even talk about all that. And so I was just like, all right, having to kind of get myself together, breathe for a moment in the parking lot, then go into church. But then we had a time of prayer, and it was really powerful to hear people pray, especially those, 'cause, I mean, I'm mid 40s, but especially those that are closer to, like, let's say 30 and younger, or early 30s and younger, who Charlie Kirk was like a massive influence in their lives. And he was, I listened to Charlie Kirk almost every day. Like, I listened to at least snippets of his almost every day. But for some individuals, this was like the individual, they either came to Christ. So some of them were Christians, and then began listening to Kirk, and he actually it was like he was discipling them in some ways, you know? And then others were just conservatives, but through listening to Charlie, because he would always, this is what I loved about Charlie Kirk, he didn't have just conservative, his ideals were not just conservative ideals, right? Like his worldview and his moral compass and his ethics were shaped from the Bible, from Scripture, right? From himself being a Christian, from him knowing the Lord. And so therefore that biblical worldview, that his morality was shaped by that. And therefore that informed him on his moral stances, on his ethical stances. And so for some people who are conservative in listening to Kirk, it actually moved them toward the Lord, because they began to see, his morals are being derived from somewhere, and so, you would hear these things like where Kirk would talk about, we're engaging in culture war and those kind of things. And it can sound like it was just on a cultural level, on the moral level, the social level, but there was something so much deeper that was rooting that for him. And so for people to be able to say, no, I'm actually going to become more now I'm actually interested in following Christ, him leading people to the Lord. Are you kidding me? Like that. And he even said that's, what he wanted to be known for, right? We've all seen the clips of, his, being asked, what do you want to be known for? And he talks about, I want to be known for being courageous in my faith, and I think for a lot of us, I remember watching that video, seeing it, and you're just like, yeah, that's what I want, that's what you want to be known for. Yeah. That, you talk about being courageous in his faith and that was the center of everything for him. And I hope that for a lot of us, we would even return back to a center point of that, that was what we would be known for. And I love the way he talked about, that for him, the most important things were relationship with the divine, right? Relationship with family and maybe some close friends, and then a relationship with the truth. And I hope a lot of us would feel that way. We want to have a relationship with the divine, a relationship with our family, and a relationship with truth. And so anyway, I think I'm kind of just going all over the place at this point, so I'm sorry, but it just, I think for the younger generation in particular, this can be a incredible shifting for them, and I hope it is. I hope it's a movement, and that goes further than we could have ever thought. So,
well, if he was discipling you through the internet, then go to church.
Yeah.
Right?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And find yourself,
find an in-person person to disciple with.
Yeah. I think that's a great, 100%.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Well, it's been a rough week. A lot of bloody videos that came out. Of horrible things.
Horrible things. I mean, between that with Charlie Kirk, with the individual in Charlotte on the train.
And that was weird. That was the thing. I probably watched that video 50 times of the girl on the train, because I was looking through Twitter and people kept saying stuff, and then I would watch the video again to see if I could see it. And then, and nobody moved, and I was like, I gotta watch everybody, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then the next day it was Charlie, and I was like,
and then the day after that's 9/11.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's all of these things that are
it's 9/11, and everyone
colliding
on everyone talking is like, if 9/11 happened today, half the people would be happy about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're right. like there'd be people that were actually happy and think about the mental health of the hijackers and
right,
and how that's more important than what they did to, and business, finance, rich people and World Trade Center should be gone anyway. And, that would be the sentiment.
Yeah.
And,
you're not wrong. And even like with the reaction to that young girl getting killed, like the number of individuals who have focused more on the mental health of that individual who killed her.
Right.
Right. And you're just like, no, like, okay, yeah, he probably has mental health issues, right? Like, no one's denying that, but it doesn't excuse him, right? Like, no, he's going to have to face, life in prison, like that's
sorry.
Yeah. Like that's like, regardless of mental health, state. And so, yeah, it's been a weird week. Although I will say some of the conversations I've had this week, probably because of it, of all those things colliding together, have been some of the more interesting and I think fruitful and deep and honest conversations I've had with people. Like, I was talking to someone this week and they were just very transparent, probably more vulnerable than they would have normally been. Not probably. They were definitely more vulnerable. And they even said that, like, I'm uncomfortable being this open about this, but I don't know what else to do. I don't know, who else to talk to. I got to say, like they were trying to process things.
Yeah.
And so, and I think some of that it can be attributed to, the fact that, even from it going from like, why does God allow this kind of stuff? Why does God allow this kind of evil? Why does, like all of that. And and everybody's got their own thoughts of evil and why did God allow and, why didn't God stop it? And, I think one of the things that was interesting to me was that Charlie Kirk believed that what he did with Turning Point was actually like a calling. Like that was a calling for him.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a job. It wasn't just a career. It was a calling to turn people and to see our country turned. And he knew it was going to have to turn on its moral fabric, right? But also turn but behind that was not just turning morally, but turning back to the Lord. Like that was his whole thing. And so, in so many ways, it just, and we've seen the momentum, like stats are bearing it out, right? Like for the first time in, was it 25 years or 30 years, we actually have an uptick in church attendance, like that's not happened in 30 years. Like, so what's happening, right? You have an uptick statistically of conservatives. Like and this is largely based upon Gen Z. And it's like, what is happening, right? And I think Kirk had such an impact in that generation with Gen Z that you're seeing the fruit of it. And I'm not saying it was solely him, right? The Lord used him and the Lord was used many others, but all of a sudden it became okay to be young and Christian and conservative and intelligent. And, all of that became okay. It became acceptable. And it was like you saw this like growing trend and people saying, I'm not just going to go to college and be intelligent. Like my son who's 17, this is how he's gauging where he wants to go to college. And I know I'm his father, and so it's easy for me to like be prejudiced, but my kid's really smart. Like he's just a smart, thoughtful individual, and he processes, he listens to people like Charlie Kirk and Jordan Peterson, and like at 15, 16, 17 years old. And then he listens to other people I've never even heard of, right? That's more for his generation at that age. I don't even know, who they are. And so, but they're apologists or they're, conservative, political guys or whatever. But he's trying to gauge where he wants to go to school. This is what he says, I want to be able to go to college where I won't lose my faith. And what he means by this, I want to go to a school somewhere that's not going to try to indoctrinate me. I'm not going to go to school somewhere that I know I'm going to sit there and fight against my professors the whole entire time I'm there. Like,
so online school it is.
Right. It's like, where do I go? And thank God there are Christian schools that exist, but it's like, even in the,
there's Christian schools.
There are. But even like, even if it's not even just that, like the thought of, all right, if I can go somewhere and be involved in a vibrant campus ministry and have a community of faith around me, like that's important for him, as we're doing these college tours. And so I think that's kind of the effect Charlie had on people, you know, and on this young generation. And so I think that, what I'm getting to is he did so much and I think, it's like in fulfilling his call, and it's like now it's like, I can just almost feel like Lord go, now watch what's going to happen,
or go do.
Yeah.
Like now it's
everybody else's turn.
Everybody else's turn.
Yeah. Yeah. And
figure it out.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point for us to be in, you never want an individual that's so influential to die so young. Right. Yeah. And because you think of all the years they had left, but it's like
literally everyone I listened to said that every time they would meet him, that they would come away thinking that he was going to be president.
Oh, yeah.
And every single person thought that he was going to be president one day.
Yeah.
And like that's what they said.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like they all came to that conclusion together. It was like they came to it separately and all thought that every time.
Because can you imagine him on debate stages?
Right.
I mean, like
he'd win.
He would crush everybody around him.
Right.
I mean, he's just and not in a mean-spirited way.
Right.
He was so good at what he did.
Yeah.
He was so good at debating, and when you're a good debater, you listen and you're able to process what the other person is saying, but then you're able to articulate your own thoughts. And I think that's where he's so gifted. He was able to articulate his own thoughts so incredibly well. And that's, and I hope there's just an army of people that are like this, that are able to speak out and do this. And, I know a lot of people were like hoping, I
don't think it has to be like him though. I think it can be a bunch of people
doing it their own way.
Doing it their own way.
Sure. And I say like him, I guess what I mean is like, not necessarily the same style, but just in saying I'm going to be public with my thoughts, right? I'm willing to engage in disagreements.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he always talked about too, right? Like if we stop, having disagreements, if we stop being able to disagree, violence is the next recourse, right? And that is kind of what we're seeing. It's like if we cannot have conversations in disagreements, well, violence is the recourse. And so we've got to get to a point to where we're no longer doing that. Where we are saying we're going to have conversations, like we're going to talk. And I hope the response from those that have been, who celebrated and lost their jobs, and like, I don't feel empathy. Like, I'm not sorry they lost their jobs, right?
Yeah.
And that's what.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah, and that's like, and Charlie Kirk's gotten reamed for this, where he, because there's a whole thing where he talks about, he doesn't really believe in empathy. And what he was meaning by that is false empathy. I'm not gonna sit up there and virtue signal, right? I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you I'm sorry for something I'm actually not sorry about. And so when I say I have no empathy for them, that's in that same vein. That's what I mean. Like I honor them as image bearers of God, and I want them to know Jesus. But am I sorry they lost their jobs? No, because maybe that's actually what needed to happen for them to realize, oh my goodness, I can't just not just say whatever I want, but what I'm saying is obviously not okay, and make them reconsider their thought processes.
Also, you're kind of just stupid.
Yeah, if you think,
I mean, if you think that doing that's okay, and that that you're immune from any consequences of like you're just dumb.
Well,
I'm sorry.
That's why I was listening to. I was listening to someone, and that's what they kept. They give an example, and they go stupid. And they give an example, and he goes stupid. And I think
I loved it because I was on Twitter. Just accounts would be like, hey, we found this. It says on their LinkedIn that they work here.
Everybody flooded.
Yeah. And they'd tag the employer and be like, is this your employee?
Yeah.
And then get confirmation in the thread later. that they got fired.
Yeah.
Because the employer would have to put out a public statement because these accounts made it too public.
Yep.
To cover their own ass, and I was like, "This is hilarious." This is the best.
But like, even in that, like that's what I'm kind of hoping for. Like, right, where people would wake up and go, "Okay, we've gone too far. Right? Like, this is not okay."
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of people that would even consider themselves liberals, be on the left, however you want to phrase that, right? That would just go, "No, but this is not okay."
Yeah.
You're right. And so I hope that begins to cause them to really think through why do I believe what I believe? And that's what Charlie Kirk always wanted people to be able to answer, right? Why is it that I believe what I believe? Not just what did the professor tell me, not just the snippets I saw on TikTok, not just I heard Charlie Kirk was a bigot or a racist or right? Like, okay. And I love Charlie Kirk when someone would say that to him, he would go, "When did I say something
right
that made you believe I was a bigot or I was a racist or I was a homophobe or right? Like what did I say that made you believe that?" And the number of people that would just have no answer for that, right? Like we're not you don't have to attach a phobia to somebody just because they disagree with you, right? Like, and I think that's kind of what started happening, right? Like, all of a sudden we're going to, you attach isms or phobia to people when they disagree with you. We're like, no, that's not who we are as a country. That shouldn't be the way that we handle conversations. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I have a phobia, right? Just because he disagreed, because of his biblical, for example, his biblical sexual ethic, just because he disagreed with the act of homosexuality didn't mean that he was a homophobe, right? Like, that's not...
He hung out with gay conservatives all the time.
I mean, Dave Rubin talks about this, right? He did a whole thing this week on it, And so I think that's, and I think that's where we've got to get away from this, using these kind of inflammatory words, because that's not accurately depicting anybody, right? No, just state where he disagreed with you instead of labeling him with a derogatory label.
Yeah.
It's like someone else, they said, Charlie was so good because he was good at debating, where others, unfortunately, wanted to diagnose, and say, well, the underlying cause for you is this or this or that. No, he just debated facts. He debated thought, right? Not just...
And just let you look like an idiot.
At the end of the day, yeah. And, and I love it because there's also videos where people would challenge him on things.
Because of what you said, not because of what he said.
Right. When they challenge him on things and he would go, "I don't know."
Yeah.
Right? I mean, brilliant. Like, here's this guy who's supposed to have all the answers, but there were things in particular within, like, when we got, like, into deep, like, science level type things.
Oh, yeah.
Kirk didn't pretend to be a biologist, right? And I mean, we all can know basic level biology, but then
Can we?
Yeah. I mean, yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we can know basic level.
There's some people that I don't know.
I know. Okay, we should be able to. How about that? We should all be able to understand basic biology. And
I've seen some people out there and I'm like, that's something else. That's not a thing that I know.
Right. I know. I know. But when I remember there's like this one conversation or one thing where Charlie's being asked about evolution and adaptation and those kind of things, and he was just like,
"You watched him a lot."
Yeah, and so like he was, he said this like when he was, because it's college campus, individuals asking him, and he said, "I'm pretty open minded to learn." He's like, "I believe in the creation account of Scripture, but I'm pretty open minded in regards to evolution and or adaptation because I don't really know the science well enough." And like, what a brilliant statement, okay, I believe this. I believe it needs to, on a basic level, needs to work within the confines of the creation account, but can that a creation account give space for, And obviously he wouldn't believe like in Darwinism, like evolution, but he would believe in like an adaptation was possible, and he would, but even then going, but I don't know, I'm open-minded because I'm not a scientist. I don't know enough.
Yeah.
And there are individuals that are much smarter than I am, or much more intelligent or informed or read or studied in areas of biology and those. He said, and there's Christians that are very well read and informed that take different positions, and I think the creation account allows for that, and I'm open to have my mind changed on that. Right, that's awesome, and so, man, can we get back to that kind of stuff?
No.
No, we have to have all the answers, and if you don't agree with me, I'm going to yell and scream. Right? Like, yeah. It's frustrating. But I am genuinely hopeful. So
I think I am too.
Yeah.
But like, we're both people that go places and say stuff, so there's also, worry.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And
I don't know. I don't do it as much as he did.
No. And
or
not
in as big of places.
Yeah, not in those kind of environments.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if they're going to have to change the way they do those environments.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, especially on campuses, like even at like the larger universities, like their big, massive auditoriums usually are only going to hold, like up to 1,000 students.
Yeah.
Which seems like a lot. But these events,
yeah.
I mean, like, remember when he was at University of Tennessee?
This one had 3,500 people.
Yeah, and that was at a small college.
Yeah.
He was at Tennessee recently, and like, it was, or I guess it was in the spring. Dude, it was like University of Tennessee. It was massive a number of people there. Like, you couldn't fit that number into that kind of auditorium space.
Yeah.
And
have to go in the stadium.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about like, you'd have to do like coliseums. Like, I say coliseums. That sounds weird, but like, like University.
People die in there.
Well, that's true. But the University of Georgia, for example, has what's called Stegman Coliseum. So I would say Coliseum and basketball arenas.
Right.
Right. Like those are probably going to be your largest venues on campus that aren't open air.
Right.
That are where you could have metal detectors and all that kind of stuff for people coming through. That's all I'm saying. And so you're probably your I mean, so I am interested to see how they handle being on campus going forward. But I do hope that I hope there's students this week at the University of Georgia that stand up on that platform and share, and share. I do. I hope maybe it's already happened. I don't know, but I hope hey, we're going to talk about this, and man, makes me want to go to the University of Georgia and do that this week. But anyway, maybe I will. Yeah, we'll see what happens in our country going forward in the coming weeks and months and years. But I do think there's a shift happening. So,
well, I don't want to be associated with the people. I think I had a question about like what we're doing here after this.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think about it a lot. Like, who is this for? You know what I mean? And like, it's obviously, I don't think this is for the people that like death.
No.
Like, are they too far gone? Like, I get, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, who do we play to now?
Yeah. I would hope that, John, our podcast specifically?
Yeah, like, what can we do?
Yeah.
Like he's not doing that thing and we do this.
Right.
But like, is this good for somebody? I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and I think maybe the original kind of intent of it, right, was, hey, we want to try to have open conversations about any topic, right?
Right.
That you're allowed to ask any question. I think that's kind of the beauty of it, right? Charlie Kirk allowed any question.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the cool thing. Like, if he lectured, like if he did lecture, following the lecture, the Q&A time would open up first to those who disagreed with him.
Yeah.
He always made sure that was the case. And so if you disagree with me, now you can go first. And then he let them go first. I thought, brilliant, right? Because it'd be so easy to just be like, open up for Q&A time, and you got all these people that are affirming, like, hey, I agree with you on this. How should I handle this? Right? Like, those are the easy answers. Those are the easy questions. And so, I think that, in our particular space, it's you being able to ask any question of me and then me having to respond to it with honesty, with openness, with transparency. And I would hope that people that find themselves wrestling with, I've always hoped that we could reach people that were finding themselves either wrestling with God or church or Christianity, right? Like, is God real? Should I care? What does it look like? Man, church has sucked. I don't like church. And this is, kind of how I feel about it. And and therefore, because I have bad issues or bad experiences in church, I might be questioning Christianity itself, right? Like, so I hope we've reached those. Like, I hope that's kind of who our audience is for, but also for those that listen and go, when we talk about different topics, whether it be on, morality or ethics or whatever, right? That it could appeal to someone who has just a very different opinion of us, that maybe one thought we say goes, I haven't considered it that way before.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I do hope, and let's be honest, like, in these college campuses, Kirk is appealing to people who hopefully are there to learn, right? Like, he's appealing to people that are hopefully there because they want to learn. And if you want to learn, hopefully you'd be open-minded enough, even in disagreeing with someone, to go, okay, but where is there a part of this that might be true? And because I want to be that way with people that disagree with me. Where is it along that, in the talking point, what is something that I've missed, I've not considered, that they may be right in, or maybe that I've just not thought about, considered it well enough, and that I need to go sit down and consider it.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were going to talk about this for so long.
I know.
But I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's wild because it's not just us, right?
No, I know.
It
just feels weird. I think that's a problem. Yeah. It's like I feel like I have to keep talking about it because it feels weird.
I know.
And it's like I'm trying to like reach some happy conclusion in my head about it, but I'm like if people like, because even like the liberal people are like, oh shit, we could be somewhere and get shot because of what we believe, and like that's how they're looking at it instead of like, people only get shot for those types of opinions. It's like, no, this opens up the can of worms for everybody. People to be shot for opinions at all.
Correct.
No matter which ones that you have, because half the country thinks that your opinions are horrible,
right,
and destructive,
right,
and you thought his opinions were horrible and destructive, and it's just not. That's not the case.
No,
and
I get it.
And one side has more guns than the other side.
Well, that's 100% true.
Just gonna put that out there. You know what I mean?
100% true. And but like, and I think that, but you're talking about like the need to talk about it, the need to process through it, right? Like, usually my visits, or when I visit people and at the church or whatever, they usually run about an hour.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit over that. I'm telling you, almost every visit I've had this week has been like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because people are so like, there's so much they want to unpack,
right,
of how they feel, of what they're processing, and now what does that mean for them, right? Like, what am I going to, and I think that's one of the things that I want to talk about tomorrow. It's like,
people feel like they have to step up
and do something.
Yeah.
And that's what, even tomorrow morning at church, it's one of the things I'm talking about is like, it doesn't start with just like us going, well, we need to change this country. No, like, I think for us, like, let's just take those steps with our own families, right? Let's take out those steps with our own communities, our own jobs and our own workplaces.
Do
with
what Charlie said.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, and
tell people that you know about our show, because we've been answering questions for a while.
Yeah.
So do that.
Yeah.
And this isn't like self-promotion. It's just like, this is what Charlie told us to do. So we're already doing it. We've already been doing it for 3 years now. Yep. And there's a lot of stuff that you can go listen to on that.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's really cool. Go to Patreon, $5. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, download. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and X and Locals at When I Heard This. Ring the notification bell, tell everyone that you know about the show, and go to the website where there's t-shirts. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinson. You can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T.
This has been the When I Heard This Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.